Okay, so let's get this show started. So we're here today to discuss what Marinade has been going through the first half of 2022. There's been a lot happening. There's during the duel of the beer market, we have been building and building and shipping, and we're going to talk a lot about what we've done so far. We're also going to talk a little bit about what we aim to do for the second half of this year, and also review the goals Marinade have this year as well. So it's going to be quite an interesting talk here. So to kick this off, then we are going to discuss what was written in the mid-year update article that was published the other day that had a lot of UC updates. So with that said, I'm going to hand over the microphone to Reppe, also called as Michael in real life, to take the lead on this one.
Okay, thanks, Seb. Thanks a lot. So happy to kick this off, and thanks for seeing everybody in here gathered around. Feel free to ask questions and everything. I might kick it off with a thinking about looking back and what's ahead of us, and then I might invite all the other chefs to pitch in with their thoughts. So looking at the very, very back, if I take you back to the ancient history of Solana, which to us, to Marinade, was February last year. That's when we went through the hackathon, then we started building Marinade, and back at that time, there were only 11 validator nodes that were able to hold the network, and in total, something like 600, 700 validators in total. So we felt like the best how Marinade can help Solana is to help it with to make it ever more decentralized. So to increase the number of validators and to also increase the so-called Nakamoto coefficient, meaning the number of validators that form this group that can collectively hold the network, that have 33% of all so staked. And so that was our whole mission, to make Solana as much robust, as much decentralized as we could. And even writing now the article for 2022, what's about to come is that we still want to do more. So we looked at the number of validators, and we felt like from the 1,500, we might do something like 6K at the end of the year. The Nakamoto coefficient being at 15, we might be shooting at 40 at the end of the year. And for the TVL, we were looking to grow it by 24 million SOL. And in general, for the past few months, it started to feel that the decentralization aspect of Solana, it improved a lot, be it because of Marinade, be it because of other things. But the total number of validators grew from something like 600 to 1,800 now. And the Nakamoto coefficient grew from 15 to 29 now. So this was just super quick. And we felt that we cannot just inflate the number of validators for the sake of making the number big. We also need to think about making the network sustainable. And we need to make sure that the average validator on the network has enough high quality to run it. Because if we only inflate the numbers of validators, we might as well get the bar lower, the quality, and that would end up badly for the whole Solana. So that got us to think if really the 10K meme, 10K validators can fit in Solana. And we started counting some numbers. And so to give you some idea, we feel that to run a validator and to spend reasonable time running it, we might be looking at something like 20, 22K a year profit for running the validator. So subtracting some costs of running it and paying for the fees, we counted that if you charge 5% commission, you would need to get 250K SOL staked on your validator to get to these revenues, to make sure that you run it at some certain quality level. 250K SOL stake at one validator. So if all SOL that is staked now would be evenly distributed, we would get around 1,500 validators if all of them got 250K SOL stake. So now we have even more than it. We have 1,800. It's not evenly balanced. So we feel like that the numbers of validators, that's enough for now. I mean, given at these conditions that we have. Where we might still do some more is to make sure that the stake is spread and is decentralized. So the Nakamoto coefficient, that still stays for us. Now it's 29. We would like to see it at 40 by the end of the year. But for the number of validators, we removed it from the goals of 2022. And we're mainly looking at the TVL growth that stays and at the Nakamoto coefficient. So that's like one part of the update. Another one was that in the past few months, I mean, you guys might have seen it, but it was not really the decentralization thing that we felt like is the most pressing issue of Solana. It was that we couldn't get the transactions through. I mean, all of us. There was the time that the magic moment was just not there. You sent the transaction through, and it didn't land, and multiple times. So we also wanted to do something about this. And to do something about this, we started to rethink how Marinade might play a more central part of being this infrastructural piece of Solana. And not only making Solana decentralized, but also making it performant as we go. That would mean that Marinade from now on will try to step in and would like to own a bigger part of the experience. And would also like to have some say over the transaction flow over the network and be part of it even more than it was through the stake on the validators from now on. So those are, I would say, like the two main updates and maybe a hint of a product update that is quite soon to be launched and introduced, which will have something to do with our network of validators, with the stake that Marinade already has, and with some upcoming changes to Solana transaction flow, let's say, where Marinade might play a big part in this. And from now looking forward, we also simplified the internal structure within Marinade. So we used to be 5 working groups. Now we only have the build and the growth teams around, and simplified a little how we plan projects and how we cooperate between each other. So the TVL stays. That's still the North Star metric for us. We haven't moved the needle that much in the past few months, let's face it. So we got to do more in this sense, and then we try to analyze how to grow. So those are 3 sections that we're looking at. This is unstaked SOL, then the SOL that is lying on the supraminority validators, usually a self-stake. And then number 3 is Solana Foundation and getting in touch with their delegation strategy and timing it so that they can also help with this amount of SOL. They can help the ecosystem, including Marinade as well. So those are the 3 buckets, and those are the recent updates, how we've been thinking about 2022 OKRs or goals for Solana, really. We are here for Solana to make it thrive. We just felt that it's decentralized enough. We might help out with the performance issues and maybe with the Nakamoto coefficient. Yeah, anybody else wanna pitch in from the team before like we move on? This was like a long talk, but feel free to pitch in.
Hey, everyone. I would also add for those who weren't following that we concluded the token exchange program, so we're able to have protocols on Solana to participate in an effort to dilute the Marinade governance power, which is what we ultimately want, because obviously if we have this goal of decentralization, then the governance can't be centralized, because then you centralize decentralization. And so for us, I think given the market conditions, we were able to be pretty successful. But yeah, if anyone else wants to talk about that, but
You're breaking up a little bit there, Torab.
Yep.
But I think you got the message across, though. The token exchange program was done and completed, and obviously Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just like wanted to add that maybe for Gekon and Player, it might be great to add the governance stuff around Marinade, since that was a huge part of what we did so far. So they might add something to it as well, and that's like hand by hand with what Torab said somehow, that we try to really spread the Marinade stack around to make sure that even Marinade is as decentralized as possible. So I just wanted to say something that we might invite Gekon and Player to share a bit on the MNDE governance, on launching the NFTs, if there is anything that they would like to share.
Yeah, that is the next part of this little talk, this open kitchen, and this is the governance review. And we could kick that off with giving the microphone to Gekon, but also a little bit to you, Reppe. You guys can share the microphone and discuss the fee change proposal. But before we head over there, we want to hear from Ricardo, head of governance, on the governance so far since we launched. There's been a lot of proposals, there are a lot of things happening on the forum. How's it looking so far? Player bits.
Hey folks, so I hope everybody has been active on the governance so far. Hard to know given the anonymity of it. But I imagine for those of you who have been more active, you have seen that we just had a proposal from Lifinity. We can talk about the ones that we had before, the previous 5 proposals, but this one is really interesting because it was the first governance proposal that actually came fully from the community. This is a proposal that Lifinity came up with. It went through the entire process from discussion in the Discord, where they helped shape their offer, to the initial proposal on the forum, which didn't fully jive with the system of liquidity mining gauges that we have designed, to them going back to the drawing board, redrafting the proposal, posting it in a way that did work with it, and then sending it directly to an on-chain vote. The interesting thing here is that it started relatively slow, the voting, which made Lifinity and some of Lifinity's very vocal supporters in our Discord relatively worried that the proposal wasn't going to pass. We helped them out during, there was a lot of exchange on the forum. We helped them out with some guidance of things that might be confusing or maybe not helping the community fully understand how things fit. They really hustled for this. They went out, they wrote a Twitter thread about it, really dissected all the points of why they thought this is a good deal for Marinade. And the proposal ended up passing. The really interesting thing, and I'm gonna just send everyone the governance dashboard on the Open Kitchen channel so that everybody has access to it. The really interesting thing is that if you go to the dashboard and you scroll down to the proposal participation, this has actually been the top 3 proposal by unique wallet participation. Meaning that all the effort that the Lifinity did of actually going out and engaging the community actually brought a whole bunch more voters in than actually any of the last 3 proposals that we had posted. This means that it wasn't just a couple whales voting for us. This was actually the community getting behind it. So regardless of how clear the proposal was initially for people, clearly they did an excellent job of rallying the vote after it. And this is something that I really enjoyed because I was personally a little bit concerned about participation, which you can see was sliding down recently. And seeing that actual engagement from the community coming in was extremely rewarding. The governance analytics dashboard that I posted is also one of the new developments. We have been working together with the folks at Flipside Crypto who have been exceedingly helpful helping us get governance-related statistics for Marinade. And they have helped us create this and other dashboards that I'm happy to share after. But you can use this page to check regularly on where the governance is right now. For instance, how many wallets own what kind of NFT, how concentrated or spread out is the voting power. How many wallets would it even take to make quorum, for instance. You can even use it to see where the liquidity mining gauges votes are going and who is voting for what. So this is a really great step, I think, for making Marinade governance significantly more transparent, and we're going to even be improving this going forward. Actually, they have a couple more dashboards going that I think are really excellent work. Now, going forward, what's next for governance is actually currently an ongoing proposal. That is what Gekon and Repe are going to be discussing now regarding some changes that we have, not only to the fees, but to our current delegation strategy. So unless anybody has any questions right now, I'm just going to pass it over to them to continue.
Repe, you
Thanks for
want to
that.
introduce? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for that review, Player Bets. So everybody who heard, just head over to the forum of ours and participate in the discussions there. That's where the sticky conversations happens, and your voice is more worth than your tokens in the governance. So join the conversations over there and be part of Marinade and helping making an impact. So thanks for that, Claire. And what about the fee change proposal, Gekon? You wanted to jump onto that?
I need
Go
to
ahead.
first find where to unmute myself. I think the fees proposal is several things at once because they are all interconnected. So the main one is raising Marinade fees. Now, reminder, there used to be at 2% since the very beginning, the last year. Then, as a part of a compensation based on the mass unstaking event, they were voted to be reduced to 0. And now the proposal is suggesting to move them up to 6% for several reasons. One of them is basically growing Marinade salary and have enough funds to cover the costs. But I think this is actually the boring part. The most interesting part is what will happen if the fees increase, because it will be reflected on the other side of a delegation strategy, where maybe validators who are charging up to 10%, which are on the one end of like delegation specter, will be slowly moving the stake to validators who are charging lower fees, and we expect the equilibrium to be around like validators charging 6% fee to start acquiring more stake from the delegation strategy. This, of course, doesn't take into account the validator gauges where people have direct input, or like Marinade holders have direct input with their tokens to delegate to specific validators. Then it includes changing the fees on liquid unstake pool. Now, maybe a reminder for people who hasn't used this feature of Marinade, which has been built in from the start. Liquid unstake is basically like a Sol pool that is hosted on Marinade, and anyone can deposit their Sol liquidity. If people want to immediately exit from MSOL into Sol and they don't want to go through the market, they can always use this pool as like immediate exit. There are some fees attached to this immediate exit. I think they're starting at like 0.3%. And we've seen like various use cases where this is actually way beneficial for unstake in a couple of situations. One is you as unstaking customer or unstaker don't want to wait the whole epoch, which is like 2.5 days, 3 days to get your stake unstaken. And you don't want to go to the market to suffer slippage if your position is quite big. So far, the liquidity providers were having the majority of the fees, 75%, and this proposal aims to decrease it a bit and instead move the decrease to the Marinade treasury. And these are, I think, are the most important points from like a user perspective, there are also finer details packed in where previously the delegation strategy has been working with validator credits for staking or like understanding and deciding which validator is performing better. But we have found out that validators are packed into really tight group, and a single factor can move the validator like tens of places in the like position, which isn't really reflecting on the like long-term performance. So we went down and redesign how credits and the validator list is working, so it arrives to better results that are more predictable for validators and reflecting their long-term performance, while also still able to provide the best validators who are like on the front of pushing the performance and through performance the staking APY back to the stakers to still reap the best rewards for them. Yeah, like hopefully all these changes combined can create a situation where Marinade can sustain their contributors, make the overall mechanisms powering it more approachable and transparent for both stakers and validators. Yeah, and like what I'm excited about is this is being discussed openly, not in a closed term where one guy would do the calculations and just decide how it's going to work, because I think the delegation strategy is the biggest point of trust that Marinade has, and like taking this decision together and like inviting all the interest parties to understand like what are the pros and cons is for me the most interesting part of working in Web3. I hope I summed it up. Michael, you want to add something?
Yeah, just like a quick note to this, because like you summed it up, I think you touched on everything. So maybe to wrap it up or to add to it, is that to put you guys in some perspective, Marinade, the DAO, has not done any VC sale, any private sale, any public sale. So we haven't raised any money, nothing like that. Marinade is the community bootstrap project. So we needed to make sure when we launched last summer in August that in September or like quite soon, we need to have enough fees flowing in to make sure that we pay for the operations. That's like how we live. So we don't have a huge war chest from VCs or anything. That's also one context of the things. So now, if you imagine that, let's say Sol would be on $50, that would mean, again, to put you in perspective, that through Marinade, each year is generated 23 million worth of dollars of staking rewards. And of those, $20 million are going to the Sol stakers, so to the MSOL holders, let's say, because Marinade puts it back. So that's how the MSOL price grows. So 20 out of those 23 goes back to all the Sol holders or MSOL holders. And then $2.5 million goes to validators through their commissions. So actually validators, thanks to Marinade, get close to $3 million a year through commissions through the Marinade stake on them. And then what's left out there is $500,000 for the whole year. And that's how it used to be with those 2% commission that Marinade took. And generally we just felt to level it out a little, so that now we hope that we'll be seeing some validators partially decreasing the commission. We would put a bonus on it, and then against it, Marinade Treasury might increase the cut to level it out. This will mean that the ultimate customer, the end customer, the MSOL holder will not be touched at all. So the API will be still the same even after the change if it goes through. So I just wanted to put this in perspective. What's the motivation? How we are doing it? What we are doing it? And hopefully that even from now on we'll be able to operate at again some high standard of quality, because we are not VC backed and we are here because of you guys, because the community that made Marinade what it is today.
And if you want to read more about what we're talking about here, the suggested change in the fee structures, we have a forum post about it. It's a big forum post with a lot of information. I posted the link in the chat. So if you're here listening now, click on that link and take a look on that proposal written by none other than Master Chef Serba. And if you're listening to the recording, just head over to forum.marinade.finance to take a look on this, because it will have a big impact on Marinade and Marinade's future. And we would love to hear more feedback from our community. So with that said, let's move on to the next part of this, unless anybody else up here on the stage has something more to add to this topic. No? Okay, let's proceed. So Torab, what's up with the partnerships? What's the latest when it comes to the partnerships endeavors that we're doing here on Marinade?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys kind of looked at our roadmap that the team released, you can see that there is a lot of SOL that isn't staked, right? So I think it was, the numbers were what, that of the SOL that's staked, only 3% is in liquid staking. And then when you kind of zoom out and then you look at the super minority or just the SOL that's not staked in general, I think it falls for most people under 3 categories. One is just education. So what's been interesting is we've been reaching out to a bunch of different NFT projects, and I was speaking to the founders trying to find some way to collaborate. And these are the blue chip NFTs, by the way, but the newer NFT projects, they had no idea what staking is, and they really had no idea what liquid staking is, which is pretty shocking to me. But as you can imagine, if you are on a Thursday, let's assume it's like a Thursday afternoon for you, and you're listening to an AMA on Marinade, you probably really know what liquid staking is. And so it's kind of jarring when you realize that a lot of these people who would consider themselves Solana maxis, right? Like these people, their Twitters, it says, I love Solana, and they have all the color scheme and all that stuff. And they don't know what liquid staking is. And so I think as a community, and this isn't just Marinade, this is just the Solana community at large, I think we have to move towards like a education model where people just have to learn, what is staking, why should they stake, and then the next step is why liquid staking. So I think that's one big one. And then secondly is being able to bring in a lot of these institutional players. And what we've been doing is basically gathering intel and trying to understand why are you not using liquid staking? And so we've actually learned a lot. They've been a lot more collaborative, I think, than we expected. And that's especially for the top validators, right? Because if you think about what Marinade does, it takes those top super minority, that 1/3, and says, hey, no stake for you. If anyone gets that Seinfeld reference. But anyways, so we don't give them any stake. And so what we found through the token exchange program and working with them after that is they've been very supportive. And so what we're trying to figure out is, hey, how do we remove those hurdles? Some of them are tax, some of them are administrative. A lot of them have to do with custodial wallets, right? And that custodial service that we kind of have to work through. And so I'm not sure what details I should or can share, but we are going after some of these custodians because I think that's like the path of least resistance to be able to bring in a whole new slew of stakers into our ecosystem. Seb, what else can I talk about?
Yeah, don't drop too much alpha now. No, but I think you touched upon a very important subject, which is the NFT side of Solana. And I can add something to that as well. There's a lot of people flipping NFTs, and the NFT community in Solana is huge, very vibrant, very fun. And but when you're sitting there looking for the next NFT opportunity or next whitelist opportunity, that's where your focus is. Your focus is not so much perhaps on the DeFi side of things. So that's what Torab said. I hope that Marinade can be part of being like a bridge between the NFT enthusiasts and the DeFi enthusiasts on Solana. And so far it's, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And I was going to say, so, when we talk about the different barriers, one is education, one is the administrative and tax, and I would say liquidity as well, right? So if I hold a lot of SOL and I want to be able to get in and out of my position, which isn't very common, but let's just say they do, It's much harder to do that with MSOL, just because the depth of liquidity, right, that's out in the market. But the last one is kind of what Seb was alluding to, which is, okay, why would someone hold Sol when they can use MSOL, right? Like, you're just leaving 6% on the table. Why would anyone do that? Well, what we found in in some of the conversations we've had is, like we said, education, but also that people want to buy NFTs, flip NFTs, and so in order to do that, if you right now there's not that much ability to mint an MSOL or any secondary markets where you can buy an MSOL. So that is one of our top priorities, is to be able to remove that barrier, because kind of like a jealous boyfriend, like, what can he do that we can't do? And what we found out is the NFT space is a big one. And as you guys know, a lot of the Solana summer was fueled by NFTs, right? Unlike Ethereum, it wasn't as DeFi based. It was much more NFT based from the very beginning. And so, yeah, we're very cognizant of that, especially when you kind of look at the number of unique wallets that hold NFTs on Solana, and just the number of transactions. There's a clear narrative that's forming. So we're also very aware of that. If anyone has any questions, please feel free.
Cool. Thanks for that, Torab. So that's what we're looking at these days, being like practically the DeFi base layer with MSOL on Solana. We're looking to other segments outside of the DeFi space as well. And I can move forward to the community and just general public communication side of things. That will be me and Brandon, or BTUC, with the awesome Solana background talking. So I can kick this off from a community perspective. We did some changes after we launched the governance NFTs, also called as the Chef NFTs. We did some changes in our community related to this. So previously, as everybody knows, we were going heavy on the whole marinator thing. That when you're staking your soul, you have your MSOL, you're marinating your soul, right? But as we launched these NFTs called Chef NFTs, it made more sense to us running the community to change the wording from marinators to chefs, because in the end you have a chef NFT, right? And also to a large degree, you're part of the Marinade kitchen with this NFT now. You're part of the decision making on like important things such as the delegation strategy update and fee structure we talked about. That is having this forum post right now that I shared. You're also part of the gauges, and there's two gauges, right? There's the validator gauges, so you can direct stake to certain validator that you want to support that perhaps has a positive impact on the Solana ecosystem. Or when it comes to the liquidity mining gauges, you could perhaps do the same, support a DEX or protocol in DeFi that you think has a positive impact on the ecosystem. So there's these three pillars right now that you as a chef NFT holders are participating in and creating value with your participation in. So it made more sense to us to like, hey guys, we're all chefs now. We're all chefs. And to be honest, I think it's a much more fun thing to play around with as well together. So yeah, exactly that meme that Gekun just posted in the chat. So that's the reasoning why we did this change. It made more sense to us and hopefully more sense to our community. And then connected to that, we were doing some changes in the structure of our Discord. Previously, we had more public channels than we were having now. Some of these channels that we had, like the food corner or the market channels, etc., we've locked them now to be gated to only chef NFT holders, those who verified that they have a chef NFT and have the chef role. So that is one step in the direction of really working together with the chefs and facilitating a nice environment for everybody who is participating in Marinade and cooking with us in the kitchen. So there's going to be more coming up related to this, and we're also stepped up this thing with whitelists and other kinds of DGen opportunities, if that's what you want to call it, in the DGen corner chat, which again is exclusive to chefs, and we handed out, what was it, like 10 whitelist spots for chefs to these kudos NFT mint coming up here. So there's more of these user things coming the chef's way. So if you don't have the chef role, get the chef role. You'll be able to participate in more of the fun and perhaps even the deeper aspects of Marinade too, because on several occasions and in the future, on more occasions, we're also asking chefs specifically about feedback regarding product updates or just specific user surveys and so on, which has a huge impact on what we're doing here at Marinade. So go get the chef role and participate a little bit more if you don't have the chef role already. Keep in mind, as a chef, perhaps you don't have the chef role, but perhaps you have the chef NFT. You will still be a chef technically, in my point of view. Your impact on the governance is huge, actually. I mean, I touched upon the on-chain decision making. That's one, and the gauges. That's 2 and 3. And one thing that I kind of mentioned earlier too, and when we talked specifically about governance, is that I think that your voice is more valuable than the amount of tokens you have when it comes to the governance. We could see, this Lifinity proposal being discussed and voices were being raised and points of views were being shared, which had a huge impact on people's decision making. It's like a political election to a degree, right? The decided sounds loudest is usually the one that gets the most attention in regular, in real life votes, like political systems. Yeah. So keep that in mind, and don't be afraid of voicing your point of view when it comes to on-chain decision making which we mainly discuss in the forum, but also in the governance chat, which is still public for everybody to participate in. But also make your voices heard regarding the validator gauges, and perhaps there's a specific validator that you really think is providing a lot of value to the Solana ecosystem. Make that heard and let people know that you think that. And same goes for liquidity mining gauges. It's not only about perhaps maximizing your returns on the liquidity pool you're providing liquidity to, but it could also be that you think that particular pool on that particular DEX is doing something out of the ordinary, something special for Solana. And we invite you all to really voice this and basically shill what you believe in. So again, like your voice, many times, and at least like all the times, in my opinion, is more valuable than actually how much tokens you have and how much impact that token has on the vote. So
yeah, and as Ricardo mentioned earlier, just to chime in on that, is that we by not having like a VC round where we have like this closed circle raise, there's two main benefits, right? Number one is that when they unlock their tokens, they don't just dump on retail's heads, right? Which is not good. But secondly, it also gives more. It empowers the community with their whatever amount of Marinade tokens they have. So if our community doesn't vote, it's counterintuitive, and like half of the reason why we didn't do a whole VC round kind of goes down the drain. So no matter, as Seb was saying, don't ever feel that your Marinade amount or that you have is too little. It's more than that, right? It's the voice is worth more than the actual votes. As weird as that sounds, especially like in our forum when we're having discussions.
Indeed. And I mean, in real life, when it comes to voting on a political party in some election, I mean, everybody just have one vote there, right? We don't have like a bunch of tokens that can sway the election. So in real life, from that example, voices are more important than the vote a single person carries. So that is really important to keep in mind if you want to participate in Marinade, be a chef together with us all, to be part of these discussions. And also, don't forget about discussing the validator gauges and the liquidity mining gauges. I think people might be a little bit hesitant about that, but to be honest, we invite people to just chill as much as you can regarding anything of these 3 pillars of governance that I kind of discussed. So stay tuned for more fun things for the chefs. And with that said, I'm going to give the microphone to Brandon, also called as Beat, with the awesome Solana background, to discuss a little bit about our ambassador program and kind of what we're doing on the content side of things.
Sure, thank you. And shout out to Schopenhauer too. I see another Solana background in the audience. So we're at the top level there on rarity. Love it. But yeah, I'll go briefly. I know there's some questions to get to as well in this hour, but just kind of to recap what's been said a little bit. prior on this AMA, educational content is just huge. Where we're finding the NFT community is generally very unaware of staking and liquid staking, and even some of our institutional people might be having a hard time understanding it too. So, really, my job since I came on is to figure out how to just boil all these concepts down as easily as possible. Whether it's liquid staking or gauges or some of the governance things we're doing. It seems like however simple we explain it, it could be done, more simply. And so that's the goal, really. I think really Eli 5 is kind of the word of the day here. And something that we're really seeing some nice progress on so far is a lot of the infographics that we're making with Ellie. I'm sure you all know our rock star designer, Ellie, who's I think she's on vacation this week, but just empowering her to really turn these concepts into really great shareable infographics and artwork. We're seeing just a lot of momentum there, and it's really being shared around a lot. And it seems like every day we're getting tagged in a post from someone who we don't even know using one of our infographics. So that's something that we really want to triple down on, and really just focusing on educational content as much as we can. And part of that is the ambassador program too. So this is something we started a couple months ago. And really the idea here is, we're talking to ourselves a lot on Twitter. We're posting to our followers. They probably know what liquid staking is and what a lot of Marinade is to a degree. And so we really started looking for just like-minded, influential accounts in the Solana space. And we were really pleased to see that there are, quite a few good ones out there that really like what we're doing. And so we were able to bring on first Gaius, who runs the library Discord channel, very educational and great. So we brought him on. We brought on Nox Trades, who's unique there because he ended up booting up a Solana validator around the time that we brought him on. And then most recently, we brought on Solana Legend too. So this is just great to have a much bigger audience beyond just Marinade's Twitter. They all have large followings. They're respected, and I think most importantly, they're kind of in Solana for the long term. So it's great to be aligned with them. And I'll say we're open to more ambassadors, but it's got to be the right fit. I wouldn't say that there's like a quota of ambassadors we're trying to hit, but as we're introduced to people, or as we find people who are really aligned with us, we're very much willing to work with them. So that's the ambassador program in a nutshell. And I'll lastly add that if you've been looking at the website, we've really been adding a lot more content to the website, educational content, and so stay tuned for really a whole lot more there. But that's pretty much it on the comms side, Seb.
Cool. Thanks for that update, man.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to see what the ambassadors has in store moving forward. Guy's community, their library is pretty awesome, actually. So it could be worth paying a visit there if you're interested in what that is about. So let's see, do we have any questions from the audience? Now is the time to ask some questions. But if not, I guess we can wrap this up. We've gone through the article that we posted the other day, the review of the mid-year and the change in some of the perspectives for Marinade and what's ahead as well for Marinade. We also talked about the governance aspects. Player Bits, also called Ricardo, and GetGone walked us through what's happening on the governance side, in particular with the Affinity proposal. That was cool to hear about. And we also discussed a little bit more there about the fee change proposal. And Laura, you did a good job walking us through the partnership side of Marinade, what we're looking at and how we're thinking about it. And then myself, talked about the community a little bit and also the community impact on the Marinade's decision making. And thank you, Brandon, for going through like how our public communication regarding content and so on and the ambassadors looks like. Since we don't have any questions, I think we've been pretty clear with what we're working on and what we aim to do and what we have done so far. It's been pretty intense first 6 months of 2022. During the bear market, we've been releasing the governance and the gauges, not only one, but two of them, and other updates such as the decentralizer product as well. So the Marinade team has been extremely busy in the kitchen, working their ass off, basically. And thank you all our community, for your patience with us, and also for your participation in the Marinade mission, which is to decentralize Solana, make Solana more valuable and more robust and a better network. So together, we're going to make it. So thank you, everybody who tuned in. And again, if you have a friend or two that did not have time to visit us in this live AMA, this live Open Kitchen, the recording will be uploaded to YouTube, I guess, within a day or two. What do you say, Brandon? How long away is the recording going to be there?
Yeah, usually within about 48 hours or so, hopefully.
Cool. So within 1-2 days. So thanks everybody.
How do we want to
in.
do this? How do we want to do this? This Rakudo whitelist?
Yeah, I think we're gonna save that one for later. We didn't talk about it until now anyway. So we'll have one more whitelist spot for the Rakudos brought to us by the Shakuda team, our partners. And if you have the chef role, you might be able to get it somehow within this week, I guess. So if you don't have the chef role, go get it. You might get this degen opportunity. Well, it's kind of degen. It's Shakuda's own NFT, so I wouldn't call it such a degen play. But that's in store. So thanks everybody again for tuning in, and see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.